Welcome to NSG 411, Study Session 7, Functions and Components of Management Communication. Introduction. In this study session, we will define the term communication and examine the organizational communication. We will also list and explain the types of communication and discuss the problems of communication in the nursing practice setting or the impact of poor communication generally. Lastly, we will explore through the concept of controlling as well as financial management. Learning outcomes. When you have studied this session, you should be able to 1. Define communication and examine the concept of organizational communication. 2. Explain the concept of controlling. 3. Describe the term financial management. Defining communication. Communication is vital in every sphere of human activity. It may even be described as the life wire of the society. Through communication, politicians sell their manifestos to voters. Business enterprises sell their products and services to buyers. Preachers propagate their religious messages. Teachers impart knowledge to students. Sicknesses and diseases diagnosed by doctors. Relationships, whether personal or official, are activated, affected, maintained, and sustained by it. Communication skills are needed to be an effective leader. Furthermore, in the complex client care environment, effective communication is a key factor in promoting efficiency and patient safety. Understanding the communication process can assist in preventing misunderstandings and improve the sending of important messages. Based on a theoretical model, communication is an interactive process between two or more persons and consists of several elements. The sender encodes a message using verbal and non-verbal behaviors. The message is sent, and the receiver must then decode the message. The receiver becomes the sender and must encode and send a response back to the sender, who now becomes the receiver. In order to assume successful communication, a message must be verified by some type of feedback. Knowing that a message was communicated accurately is very important, especially in a critical patient-centered situation. Both the internal and external climate of communication also have considerable influence over the message being sent and impacts how the message might be received. The internal climate is composed of the sender's and receiver's feelings, biases, values, basic temperament, and the stress level. The temperature, personal space needs, timing, and the general surroundings where the communication occurs characterize the external environment. In addition, there are other external influences that can be potential barriers to effective communication, such as a person's status, power and authority issues, and gender, especially when communication occurs between a predominantly male medical profession and a predominantly female nursing professional. Despite these considerations that influence the ability to communicate effectively, it is important to remember that communication is first and foremost an interactive process, and that the message being sent is never more important than the people engaged in the process. In addition to being aware of the communication process, there are also certain skill sets that relate to effective communication. These interpersonal communication skills can be grouped into the following 5 key categories: listening skills, active, or conscious skills required to truly listen and understand, plus effectively respond to what a person is saying. Assertion skills, verbal and non-verbal behaviors that allow a person to maintain respect, satisfy needs, and defend rights without dominating, abusing, or controlling others. Conflict resolution skills, abilities that allow a person to deal with conflict while preserving or promoting closer relationships when the conflict is resolved. Collaborative problem-solving skills, a means of resolving conflicts and solving problems effectively. Skill selection, guidelines that enable a person to choose what communication skills to use situation, including the use of appropriate humor in any given. Organizational communication, lines of authority. In all organizations, there are two established systems which include 1. The formal communication system. 2. The informal communication system. Formal communication system. This could be vertical, horizontal, or semi-vertical, depending on the direction of information flow. Vertical communication. This is from the most senior officers to the most junior workers, or from bottom to top. It could be upward or downward. Downward. Plans, policies, strategies, instructions are communicated through this means. Upward. Feedback, responses, clarifications, suggestions, opinions, and comments are passed through this means. Horizontal communication. This is the exchange of messages or ideas between colleagues on the same level about the tasks which they perform within the organization. Semi-vertical communication. This is through the trade unions, recognized by law as the official mouthpiece of the workers. Informal communication system. This is an unofficial channel in processing official information. Channels for informal communication include rumor and grapevine. Rumor. This unofficial or unconfirmed information sent through interpersonal channels. It is inaccurate and often malicious. It is bad for people and for organizations. It is a sign that there is a gap in communication between management and employees. It should be prevented by the management. The grapevine is the positive side of rumor in an informal communication system. It is related to some aspects of the life of the organization. Sources of grapevine include new information, excitement, loyalty, informal conversation, insecurity, etc. Teamwork and communication. Teamwork is another key concept related to communication and ultimately the provision of safe patient care. Teamwork is the interaction or relationship of two or more health professionals who work interdependently to provide care for patients. Teamwork means that the members of the team are mutually dependent, see themselves as working collaboratively for patient-centered care, benefit from working collaboratively to provide patient care, share information that may lead to shared decision-making, and know when teamwork should be used to optimize patient-centered care. With teamwork as a desired outcome, a culture of effective communication is imperative. Many medical errors have been attributed to interpersonal interactions, with the lack of failed communication being cited as the most common cause. In order to achieve a collaborative, high-performance team that achieves optimal patient outcomes as the end in mind, one must have an understanding of how and where communication breakdowns occur among team members. Types of communication. This could be verbal or non-verbal. Verbal communication can be oral or written. Oral include face-to-face discussion, interviews, telephone, addressing a meeting, talking in groups. It is used in intrapersonal communication within an individual, interpersonal communication, or in group communication. Written, alphabet symbols, in form of memos, notes, letters, notice, statement orders, invoices, etc. It is the translation of oral messages to alphabetic symbols for personal business letters, queries, reporting, circulars, memos, essays, data collection instruments, telex, and telegrams. Non-verbal communication. This is a means of showing feelings through body movement, gestures, and postures. Body language, including gestures, body shape, facial expression. Paralanguage, that is, tone of voice or countenance. Distance, that is, gap between people. Problems with communication in the nursing practice setting or barriers to communication. In the nursing practice environment, there are several complicated communication relationships, including nurse to nurse, nurse to physician, and nurse to patient. This communication is critical to the patients and to the operations within a surgical environment. Because clinical communication is so complex, there are several ways in which it could fail, such as system failure, where the process is not in place to support effective communication. Message failure, when the information is not transmitted even though the system exists. Reception failure, in which the information that was transmitted accurately and using the proper tools was misinterpreted or it arrived too late. In other words, barriers to effective communication include structural constraints, that is, location and architectural design of structures. Human constraints, resulting from disparity in the level of language usage between different categories of workers. Technological constraints or departmental barriers, which may include the use of professional jargons, etc. It is important to remember that the failure to communicate in an accurate or timely manner, that is, communication failure, is a significant contributor to medical errors. The impact of poor communication. There are various consequences that may occur when healthcare professionals do not communicate well. For example, information can be overlooked or forgotten, not conveyed or misdirected. Instructions can also be delayed or misinterpreted. Other effects of poor communication include inappropriate orders may be implemented. An example of this may include administering the wrong dose of medication or administering medication at the wrong time. Ambiguous telephone. Take 2. Ambiguous telephone orders may be given and accepted because the names of several medications sound alike, as well as the issues of poor connections, language accents, or background noise. Telephone orders are often opportunities for either misinterpretation or confusion. If an ambiguous order is taken and not verified, errors related to wrong treatment or medications could occur. A change in status may be overlooked or go undocumented. Such changes include the onset of depression, a rise in body temperature, or an increase in heart rate. If unaware of such changes, the care delivered by a healthcare provider could potentially cause harm. Critical details may be overlooked or go undocumented. Examples here include patient's allergies, blood type, or correct surgical site. Again, if unaware of these details, a healthcare provider could potentially cause a patient harm. Assertiveness. There is one skill that can help you effectively stand up to the bossy co-worker, an overbearing manager, or a difficult team. It can also help your self-esteem and positively impact both personal happiness and workplace achievement. It is assertiveness. There are 4 ways that you can respond to a challenging person or situation. Submissiveness or passivity. Passive aggression. Aggression. Assertiveness. Submissive people avoid conflict and often fail to address issues at all. They keep the perception of peace but allow issues to fester as elephants remain in the room. Passive aggression people express negative feelings indirectly through actions instead of words. This may include giving a partial effort or showing up late for work. Aggressive people respond to circumstances by alienating others in a rude, obnoxious, or hostile manner. Being aggressive allows your viewpoint to be heard but results in enemy creation and the inability to get things done. Appropriately assertive individuals strive, especially in ambiguous situations. Assertive people stand up for themselves in a respectful manner that does not purposely or intentionally escalate situations. They foster honest and clear communication and generate results by positively controlling their environment. Assertiveness is a sign of confidence, pride, and enables people to feel higher levels of self-esteem. Assertiveness is necessary to manage workplace relationships, assignments, and ideas. However, being assertive is not easy, and it is important to prepare for specific or general situations to make you handle them well. Here are some tips to help to be appropriately assertive in the workplace. Believe in your worth. It is easy to be assertive when you believe in the value you are adding to an organization. Consider yourself at least as important as anyone else, and do not let others take advantage of you by being easily intimidated, silent, or passive. Exhibit professional confidence and express yourself and your opinions. Control your emotions. Frustration, anger, and disappointment can lead to emotional reactions that limit your effectiveness. Lack of emotional self-control is a sign of weakness in the workplace, and crying is a game changer and usually not a good one. If you feel your emotions getting the better of you, go for a walk and calm down. Never speak or react emotionally. Set clear boundaries. Setting boundaries lets co-workers know how to behave around you. No one is a mind reader. Let people know your expectations, likes, and dislikes. Boundaries add clarity to relationships and limit unwelcome behavior and interactions. Pick the right battles. It is not necessary to be assertive in all situations. Instead, know when to be assertive and when to hold your tongue. Many things can pass without the necessity of addressing them. Rehearse. As with every new skill, you should prepare in advance of a meeting or conversation. Plan out how you will open the conversation, transition to your main point, and prepare to handle any specific objections and questions you might receive. Preparation will give you the confidence to execute. Use positive body language. How you say things is as important as what you say. Display open body language, standing up straight and making good eye contact. Directly and clearly address issues. If there is a problem with another person, it is important to address it directly. Don't gossip or speak behind another's back. Instead, talk to the person cogently. Lack of clarity will be viewed as aggressive, confused, or misdirected. Take the time to frame your position with specificity, being conversational, unambiguous, and direct. Speak in the first person. Let the other person know that you are expressing your feelings, opinions, and beliefs. Use the word I to make it clear that you are speaking. It will add sincerity and impact to your words. Some examples of assertive statements include, "No, I cannot do that. Thanks for the advice. I will consider that option. This is not a priority for me. I will reach out to you when I have time. I need to get back to you about that. I appreciate your perspective, but I do not agree." Ask for what you want. Have you been passed over for a raise or promotion over the last couple of years? Now is the time to get it. Structure the discussion in light of the objective reasons you deserve the additional recognition. Be prepared for the boss to say no. If she does, it is important that you stay focused and positive and ask for a review in 3 to 6 months. You are not being pushy. Instead, you are being assertive. Learn to say no. If you do not need to do something, you do not have to always accede to others. Saying no is a great way to take control of your workplace and relationships. Here are some other tips to help one learn to be more assertive. Make the decision to positively assert yourself. Commit to being assertive rather than passive or aggressive and start practicing today. Aim for open and honest communication. Remember to respect other people when you are sharing your feelings, wants, needs, beliefs, or opinions. Listen actively. Try to understand the other person's point of view and don't interrupt when they are explaining it to you. Agree to disagree. Remember that having a different point of view doesn't mean you are right and the other person is wrong. Avoid guilt trips. Be honest and tell others how you feel or what you want without making accusations or making them feel guilty. Stay calm. Breathe normally. Look the person in the eye. Keep your face relaxed and speak in a normal voice. Take a problem-solving approach to conflict. Try to see the other person as your friend, not your enemy. Practice assertiveness. Talk in an assertive way in front of a mirror or with a friend. Pay attention to your body language as well as to the words you say. Use I. Stick with statements that include I in them, such as I think or I feel. Don't use aggressive language, such as you always or you never. Be patient. Being assertive is a skill that needs practice. Remember that you will sometimes do better at it than at other times, but you can always learn from your mistakes. Controlling. Controlling in management involves comparing actual performance with planned performance, and taking corrective action when and where necessary to ensure that the objectives of the organization are accomplished. The primary purpose of controlling is to ensure that everything occurs in line with the set standards. An effective system of control helps to predict deviations before they actually occur. 3 phases of controlling are described and include anticipating the things that could go wrong and taking preventive measures to see that they do not. Measuring actual performance in order to compare what is supposed to be happening. Correcting performance problems that occur. This is referred to as the therapeutic aspect of control. Need for control. Adapting to environmental change. Limiting the accumulation of errors. Coping with organizational complexity. Increasing productivity. Reinforcing other management functions. Areas of control. Physical resources, human resources, information resources, financial resources. Steps in control process. Establish standard. Measure performance. Compare performance against standards. Consider corrective actions. Requirements for effective control. Integration with planning. Flexibility, accuracy, timeliness, objectivity. Levels and types of control. Control is practiced at various levels in the organization and could be structural, operational, or financial. Types of operations control. Preliminary control, screening control, post-action or feedback control. Resistance to control. Over-control. Inappropriate focus. Rewards for inefficiency. Too much accountability. Overcoming resistance to control. Encouraging employee participation. Developing verification procedures. Time management. This is a conscious effort in doing what we plan to do and completing them in good time. Putting first thing first. It is result-oriented and must therefore be goal-oriented. Success in time management reflects not only in the quality of work in the workplace, but in one's personal life as well. Principles of time management. Develop a personal sense of time. Identify long-term goals. Make middle-term plans. Weekly and daily planning. Make the best use of your best time period to principle. Organize office work. Manage meetings. Delegate effectively. Make use of committed time. Managing one's health. Human resource management in nursing practice. Personnel management involves the effective use of the skills of people, be it health workers, teachers, factory workers, or traders. Personnel management is the planning, organizing, directing, and controlling of the procurement, development, compensation, integration, and maintenance of people for the purpose of contributing to organizational, individual, and social goals. Functions: manpower planning, entry, workforce, exit. Steps in manpower planning: analysis of current manpower inventory, manpower forecast, job analysis. Steps in job analysis: identification of how information will be used, review of background information, selecting representative positions for analysis, data collection and analysis, review of information collected with incumbents, development of job description or job specification. Discipline. Discipline is a process designed to encourage an employee's compliance with defined standards by utilization of clearly outlined and progressive framework. Staff discipline is very important for the success of any organization. The following are necessary for discipline at the workplace. Positive attitude to work. Focus on outcome as well as input. Prompt and careful investigation of acts of misconduct. Protection of privacy. Even when enforcing discipline, all have to understand that the act was not acceptable and not the employee. Enforce rules consistently. Appreciate growth and support others. Steps of constructive discipline. Oral warning, written warning, suspension. Other disciplinary measures include fine for carelessness, transfer to less desirable unit or situation, suspension from work, demotion of rank, deferment of promotion, dismissal, retirement. Financial management or budgeting. Healthcare is undergoing a transformation that embraces business values while trying to hold on to the professional concept of caring. Healthcare is a business with limited financial resources. Nurses are finding themselves providing care in an environment where the economics of healthcare are highly competitive and the costs of healthcare are closely monitored and frequently contemplated. Nurses are entering into a new reality of practice that is controlled by cost. Nurses need to keep in mind that money spent in any area must be budgeted. If budgeted money is spent, if the category is over budget or over the projected budget, then that money must be subtracted from another area. There is not an infinite supply of money that can be spent, no matter what the reason. Take, for example, a personal budget. If you overspend, you try to accommodate this by spending less in another area, or you go into debt. In contrast, if you spend less than the budgeted amount and are under your budget, you may have money saved for another area or to compensate for overspending. We do, however, have more control over our personal spending than the spending of our organizations. Our organizations are subject to many variables that influence both revenue and expenses. Just think for a minute about the many events that increase labor costs, sick calls, leave of absence, and an increase in census or acuity are just a few of the incidents that increase the dollars budgeted for staff. Objectives of budget process. To provide a written expression in quantitative terms of the plans of the organization. To provide a basis to evaluate financial performance in relation to the plans of the organization. To provide a tool to measure fiscal and outcome compliance with the stated plan. To create a sensitivity and heightened awareness of costs relative to resources used. Creating a budget. Nurses have been expertly educated to use the nursing process. The same type of process is the most widely used approach to preparing a budget. Assessment, planning, implementation, evaluation. Types of budget. Accrual, an accounting method that records expenses as they happen and revenue as it is earned. In nursing, vacation time is accrued as the employee earns it. This is usually recorded directly on an employee's pay stub in the pay period or month end. Bottom line, an expression that discusses the income of an organization, that is, the results of revenue. Money earned minus expenses. Revenue to expenses, income, bottom line. Direct costs, items that can be directly attributed to a cost center and related to the service delivered. For example, salaries of personnel and clerical supplies for a particular patient care unit are direct costs. Expense. This is the amount of money an organization spends to produce its services or products. For example, wages are an expense to produce patient care. Fiscal year. A business accounting period. It is usually 12 months and is used to report fiscal activity of an organization. This accounting period can start at any month of the year and end 12 months later. For example, it may begin November 1 and end the following October 31, 20XX, the next year. For profit, an organization established with the intention of making a profit to share with owners or stockholders. Full-time equivalent, FTE. An FTE is the equivalent of the cost of one full-time employee working for 1 year. In general practice, this is calculated as 40 hours per week for 52 weeks per year, or a total of 2,080 paid hours per year. The 2,080 hours include productive, actually worked, and non-productive time, vacation, sick, holiday, education. More than one employee may work to reach 2,080 hours to make up the FTE. Indirect costs. These costs may not be directly related to the cost center, but are for the good of the organization as a whole. For example, costs for an advertisement for nursing positions and for housekeeping of public areas are indirect costs. Non-productive. Time not worked, but for which the employee receives remuneration, e.g., pay for vacation and sick days. Not for profit. An organization that does not have shareholders and reinvests its profits into the business. Position control. A monitoring tool to compare actual numbers of FTE employees with the number of FTEs budgeted for the cost center. Productive. Time actually worked by an employee. Revenue. The amount of money the organization receives for its services or products. Rules of budgeting. Manager accountable for budget must prepare budget. Expenses charged to cost center that spends the money. Expenses under control of manager. Unspent budgeted funds do not carry over to next fiscal year. Funds do not transfer between salary, supplies, or capital equipment money. Variance explanation also requires a corrective plan of action. Study session summary. In this study session, we define the term communication and examine the organizational communication. We also listed and explained the types of communication and discussed the problems of communication in the nursing practice setting and/or the impact of poor communication. We concluded by exploring through the concepts of controlling as well as financial management. End of study session 7. Thank you for viewing.